In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to change the oil in your Subaru. This will work with any Subaru that has an EJ series engine, whether it's a WRX or a Forester. So stick around and I will walk you through the process. The first thing we're going to be doing is draining the oil. I let the car idle for 5 minutes so that the oil is nice and warm when it comes out, and it comes out easily and quickly. We're gonna just use a cooking pan, and I like to put the car on a slight incline because the drain plug is at the back of the pan on a Subaru. The factory oil bolt on a Subaru is a 17 millimeter, so you can use a wrench or a socket to get that off. Make sure that whatever you're using to drain the oil into has enough volume so that you don't make a huge mess. We are gonna screw back in the 17 millimeter bolt. This is a quick release oil bolt, but you guys will have a 17 mil just right here. And so you're gonna wanna screw that back in so that when you go to change your oil, it doesn't go all over the place. Next, your oil filter is right here. Now, if you didn't do this job before, this is gonna be extremely hard because people tighten these all the way, and with engine heat, they just get stuck onto the engine. So I'm gonna show you a tool really quick that I'd recommend getting, because usually these are stuck on here. This vice grip looking tool can be found basically any auto parts store. It's about $5. It's one of the only oil filter wrenches that can fit in between the headers without burning yourself or not being able to rotate the filter off. So if your oil filter's stuck, I would highly recommend this tool. It's super cheap and it will save you a lot of pain and a lot of mess. If you did get to this point and your filter is stuck and you don't have the tool I was talking about, you can use a screwdriver, but be careful. Don't go up here. Go down here so that you don't hit the pickup in this filter. All right, get the pan under that filter and she should just turn right off. This is always a messy process, so be prepared to get oil everywhere and make sure you have the pan below it. We're gonna let that drain for a minute or two and then we'll put the new filter on. This step is extremely important for Subarus. We're gonna wanna check the oil. Just swirl your finger around in there, see if there's any metal in the oil. If your finger comes out glistening or there's chunks in this, you're definitely getting close to needing an engine rebuild or a new engine. I change my oil every 1,500 miles, so this oil is pretty clean. You can also cut open your filter if you want and check that, see if there's any major metal contaminants in there. It's not necessarily a bad thing if there's a little bit of metal in the oil. That could mean you just have an older engine, but if you have coolant in here, gas in here, or metal in here, you want to bring your car to a mechanic or look into it yourself. We're going to be using a K&N oil filter today. I like to use Mobil on K&N or OEM Subaru. I trust those brands and have never had a problem with them. You're gonna wanna take some of the old oil on your finger and just rub it around that seal. This way you're gonna get a good seal on the engine. If you don't do this, you are going to leak at some point. I like K&N oil filters because they have this little nut on the bottom of them, so you can use a socket to get them off. It's really handy for Subaru engines. And then we're gonna put some oil into the filter so we don't have a dry start situation. Go ahead and wipe the surface of the engine. Make sure it's nice and clean. We can go ahead and install our new filter. I like to go about as tight as I can with my hand. And then we're gonna go one turn back, and that's perfect because then when you go to take this filter off, it will come off nicely and you won't have to fight with it. On most EJ engines, you're gonna be using a 530 weight oil or a 1030 weight oil. It really kind of depends on the temperature ranges, and Subaru has a couple different oils that they want you to use in those temperature ranges. One thing you want to look out for is using a full synthetic. With most Subarus, if you don't know the service history, you might think that full synthetic is a better way to go, but it will actually cause valve cover leaks, which you don't want because you'll lose a lot of your oil while you're driving and it will burn up on the headers. So you really want to know the service records of the Subaru you're working on. If you don't, it's usually safer to go with a semi-synthetic. I like to turn the canister of oil sideways, that way it doesn't splash out all over your engine. All right, looks like about enough. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it looks like I'm almost all the way full on oil. The full mark is this mark right here, but that is full when your engine is hot. If your engine is cold, it's gonna be down here. And when we start the engine, my oil is gonna drop probably to about halfway with all the oil passages filled back up. So we're gonna let this car idle for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and check again and see where our oil is. If it's a little low, then we'll add some more oil and we'll be good to go. All right, we are going to check the oil, see where it's at on the stick. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it is low. This is operating temperatures, so it should be up at that second dot on the stick. And this is why you check your oil after you fill it. So we are on a bit of a incline, but I know that that oil is a little bit low, so I'm gonna add some and then check one more time. And that is how you change the oil on your Subaru.